Hello everyone. Today I am going to talk a little bit about two older quilts of mine. Right now I am still not making quilts or anything yet, and I found a couple of my older quilts in the closet upstairs, and I thought, well, these two don't get out very often. They don't go to quilt shows. They're upstairs in my closet. So maybe I would tell you a little bit about them. I made these quilts in 2007, and I think at the time I was working at a quilt shop, and I was teaching classes, and so I think I decided I wanted to teach a class using the Kaleidoscope block. Both of these quilts use a Kaleidoscope block. And when I was teaching the class, I used a pattern that was called, luckily I found a folder. And I would really recommend, this is a little tip for those of you that are just starting out quilting. If you make a quilt, sometimes it's very helpful to make a pattern or make a folder or keep your information somewhere that you used making the quilt. That way, if you want to make it again later, you can do it or whatever. I didn't know that I had this, and I was digging around trying to find kaleidoscope rulers, and I did that, and then I thought, well, maybe I did make a folder for this. And I did. And I am so thankful that I did, because it tells me more about how to do this, how to make this quilt. So it kind of reminded me of what I did. I taught this as a class, and in the class you had to buy a pattern. Now, the name of this pattern is Paperweight, and it's by Aardvark Quilts, and it was published a while ago, 2004. So I don't know that it's still available, but basically, it's a pattern that uses a kaleidoscope ruler. And then I found when I made, this was the first one, when I made this and taught it in a class, as you make these blocks, you have sections that you're not cutting, that you cut out but you don't use. So I thought, well, I don't want to just let those go in the trash or not use them. So the parts of this block that I didn't use here, I used over in this quilt somewhere. So this is called Paperweights, and this is called, let me see what this is called. This is called, the Paperweights Twin. And when you make a kaleidoscope block type quilt, and there are lots and lots of kaleidoscope patterns out there. The kaleidoscope type blocks are made with a 45-degree triangle ruler. Well, I have a few. I do not even remember which one I used in 2007, but I do have my share, my full share. This is a 45 degree. It's called Mary Sue's Triangle Ruler, and you can see I've got little markers on it for something, so I don't know if I used that one. I also have Marilyn Doheny, so 45 degree triangle wedge. That's a nice one too. This one is a Nifty Notions. I'm not sure those are still going under the name Nifty Notions, but it's a 45 degree kaleidoscope ruler. And what you want to make sure, if you're making a pattern that's calling for a kaleidoscope block with a 45 degree angle, you want to check the angle right here. This has to be 45 degrees. And as you can see, there are many rulers available. I even have one in case I want to do some big diamonds. These are each 45 degree. So always, before you start, when you're making a quilt, I always make one block to begin with. And I always, before I begin, before I even cut the fabric, I check my ruler to make sure that it says on there 45 degree, whatever, wedge, triangle ruler, or whatever. So when you're using the Kaleidoscope ruler, what you can do is strip piece. Oh, I think on these there was 1, 2, 3 different fabrics that you would strip piece, but then you'd only cut this wedge at one place. Now let me just use this one for an example. Here's the wedge there. So then you'd use a different 3, 1, 2, 3, and you'd cut this wedge. So for each of these blocks, you needed to have at least, well, I guess you need 1, 2 color or strips that are the same, and then the third strip in the middle is going to be a different color. So you just need 4 different strips, 1, 2, 3, 4 strips of fabric. But as you do that, when you cut the strips, you end up having some strips, like you cut this strip here, well, the strip that you cut from there is not going to be used because it doesn't work anywhere. So that's how those wedges got stuck over in this quilt. And it's just a different look to it. I think I've kind of looked around to see where I could find. Here's this one, 1, 2, 3. Here it is down here. I can't move my arm very well. Right here, 1, 2, 3. And see, there's a totally different look to it, but it's okay. It just gives you a different feel for your Kaleidoscope ruler. And then, what I suggest, and of course you can do whatever you like. I like making a lot of blocks and then deciding how I'm going to put them together. On this quilt, I just put them together with some, here, I've got a piece for that. These pieces that go right into here, you're going to sew those on, and those are background fabric. Here, maybe you can see them better here. And that way you can sew them all together with this as with this going right here. So you sew these together sort of, I think, in diagonal rows, and that's how it, and you can do whatever you like, basically. I cut some of mine off at the side, and there's a pink one at the side, and there it is up at the top. So everything can get used. And then over here, with these blocks, I decided I just wanted to put sashing and some cornerstones in there, just to put this one together. So I think this one is a little tiny bit smaller. I think this one is bigger, it's 62 by 74, and the first one is 52 by 70. So this one is a tiny bit shorter, but you can do as many blocks as you like and set them up as much as you like. These are more diagonal, put in diagonal rows, and these are put in rows with sashing and cornerstones. So this is called the Paperweights Twin, and this one was quilted by Paul Wyckoff, And I think this one was quilted by, let me check to make sure I don't want to tell you the wrong name. This one was quilted by Messy Ash. I love the way that the long arm quilters can really do a nice job on quilts. So I encourage you, if you have a 45-degree ruler, or if you just want to try out some Kaleidoscope blocks, they're very fun. You can do a lot with them. And look at, you just piece some strips together and cut them and sew them together as a block. So, 2 older quilts that still look good, and I like them, and I think anyone, this is something about any quilter could make if you have at least sewn a little bit before. They're not terribly hard. Thanks for watching.